Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 2, Episode 11. It's called Rivals. So spoilers for the episode as always. In this episode, there's a con man who becomes something of a rival to Quark by opening his own gambling establishment, something that Quark is not happy about. But also, there's a very intense racquetball tournament between,
yes.
Well, I'll say tournament. It's one pair of people over and over again, but you get my meaning. So
you might say there is a rivalry there.
yes, it's basically just challengers, but predating it by 30 years.
Significantly less sexual tension.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm not saying there's none. I'm saying there's less because that movie is off the charts.
I'm just saying. I think O'Brien wanted to abuse Bashir, right? That's all I'm saying. There was a spark in his eye.
I'm not disagreeing.
That's all I'm saying. But a bit of a lighter episode. This is kind of mostly just like, here's a bit of fun. The plot's not super serious. A lot of the characters, like hell, we don't even see Cisco till like about halfway through the episode, and it's just kind of a sudden cut to Cisco. But it's related to the plot though, because Quark's trying to talk to him. But like the episode revolves around the two plot threads I mentioned. One's this new character Martis with Quark, and then the other one is the racquetball, which I was actually surprised when they called it racquetball. I assumed they were going to give it a name because it was, slightly altered. It was, hey, there's all these targets on the wall, and it's kind of like, okay, so it's like that, but it's,
and it goes a little bit different. There's clearly different rules, like,
yes,
because they mention, we're going to play traditional rules.
There's old style and new style, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think old style is just present day racquetball either. I think old style's still space racquetball.
I agree. That must be like ancient style.
That's ancient style. That's prehistoric style.
I wonder how, like, because like, there are some sports that like are recorded going back pretty, like tennis goes back to like the early 1000s at minimum. And I wonder how different the rules were to what we'd call tennis. Now, would we even recognize it as tennis, or would you go, it's just two people with a bat and a ball?
I think the rules back then were probably whoever loses gets garroted with wire upon completion, Squid Game style.
I don't think they did, but maybe. I can't rule it out. It was an ability that were playing it, so maybe.
Maybe
grudge match.
Maybe they call it love because whoever's not getting any points has to have sex with the other one.
Sure, that could be it.
That's what it's called, because you used to have to make love whenever someone got beat with no points. Love must now happen.
Yeah, must. This is the obvious solution.
This is like such an unsexy episode, and somehow I've turned it into the sexiest conversation we've had in quite some time.
Because you brought up challenges.
Maybe. I don't know, there's a lot of topless O'Brien in this episode, a lot more than I was expecting coming in.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we got that to look forward to. I mean the racquetball things. It's basically just the joke of Chief O'Brien has built this room for it, right, with all these targets all over the walls, and he's surprised to find that Bashir wants to play. But it turns out Bashir was on the team in doctor school, right? He was like a big player and won tournaments and all that kind of thing. And O'Brien feels a little bit challenged, and is like, well, I'm not a professional or played formally, but I spent a lot of time playing. And Bashir tries to be nice, but as soon as they start playing, it's clear that O'Brien's older, more out of shape, and not as good, and gets very agitated in trying to compete with Bashir. But to be fair, Bashir is really cocky before they start, but for the rest of the episode, he just feels guilty and doesn't want to play anymore because it's going to kill O'Brien.
He is a pretty smug man in general. Like, he has quite a smug aura.
Yeah, because he's doing like a pose. He's doing like a yoga pose. He's like, I learned this technique from expert players on Vulcan. Something to do with the heart and blah, blah, blah. He's doing this pose, and it's just like, just pick up the racket.
Yeah, just hit the damn ball.
So, yeah, that's a whole thing. But I mean, at least there's some entertaining scenes. Keiko's in this episode, sort of giggling at her husband's weird competitive streak. I did think it was funny that they kind of talk about how he's getting old and stuff, but they point out that he's only 38, which I'm like, it's not that old. Why does everyone treat him like he's an old man?
I think in terms of athletic sports, it's a lot older than Bashir. Right? You make old enough to make a significant difference.
I think what he does, he looks older than that in a sense to me, in the way that everyone in this time period looks older to me at that, like compared to what I consider that age is. Because I would have said O'Brien's always been in his 40s since the start of Next Gen. Like that's how he always came across to be.
That's fair, yeah.
So if anything,
he is an older looking man.
Yeah, if anything, I'm like, whoa, he's not looking good for his age. There, he's it looks like he's past his prime already. Yep. But yeah, I mean, there's some chuckles to be had along the way. Bashir tries to throw a game, and O'Brien's like, I'm not having that. And they basically say they're not going to play again. He's like, no, I don't want to do this again. We're done. And it's not until the other plot kind of drags them back into it that they end up
Quark
playing.
specifically drags them back into it.
Quark specifically. He wants to compete with the rival establishment and decides, upon hearing that they've been having these games and O'Brien's frustrated, that he can build a sporting event out of it so he can take bets.
He plays it like a boxing event, like the old timer, the legend, versus the new upcomer come to take his spot.
Although, given everything O'Brien said, that is the furthest possible from the truth. That
it's Quark just making it up entirely.
Yeah, but he sees gold plus platinum in his eyes, and he can't help but go for it.
It's got to donate to the orphans, so you got to do it.
Oh, we'll get to the orphans. Don't you worry. The main plot is about this Martis guy who I recognize the actor. He is the vampire from Fright Night. In case anyone's like saying, "Oh, I wonder where his face is from." It's that. That's where he's from. Okay. But he's a con man, and he's trying to con this older alien lady because she's a widow who's talking about spending her money on some endeavor to like mine asteroids or something like that. The details aren't really that important, but immediately Odo is just like paying attention. I actually really like the shot of Odo just watching from the balcony.
Yeah, he just knows he's having none of this.
Yeah, he just comes up and like arrests him. Turns out there's another couple that he swindled that are kind of giving him the right to arrest him. Not for long because they don't want to press charges, but the actual setup of this episode is that this guy, Martis, when he's in the holding cell, is in there with an alien who's also in there, and this alien's got this like orb thing that when you press the button, it either it'll go do 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 do, and then at the end it'll either light up like you've won, or it'll just kind of like die as if, oh no, you lost. So it's basically tossing a coin. It's an electronic version of tossing a coin. Either it lights up or it doesn't. It's that simple.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right? But this alien dies. Quite suddenly.
I had fortune, had wealth and women, everything you could think of, and I lost it all because of the little bastard. And then off he drops. Yep.
And of course Martis takes the thing and he's let out, so he goes off on his merry way. He goes to Quark's. Quark is familiar with his work and starts to kind of, entertain him a little bit. And when he sees this orb, he's like, what is that? And, he presses it and it lights up and Quark's like, oh, what is this game? How do I play? And then Quark presses it and it doesn't light up. And it's like, and obviously this entire time I'm thinking, how is this fun? There's nothing to you press a button and either it bings yes or it bings no. That's the extent of this.
Yeah. Based off of stuff later in the episode, I suspect it makes you feel good if you win.
I just based on what effect it has on the station as time goes on, I guess. The other thing that I thought that we're going to get into here, as we see people have weird little accidents around the station while other people are getting very lucky, is I thought it was doing this thing where every time someone was lucky, someone else had to have something bad happen to like account for that luck. Like there was kind of like a balancing thing, but they never went into that though. I thought that's where it was going.
I think that is what happened. It just never explicitly got there.
I mean, fair.
Because that's what I was getting. They talk about these things are spinning and like 80% instead of 50-50. So like the other ones have become more unlucky to compensate.
That's
I think
what
that was there, but it didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah. So because Quark wants to buy this thing, he pretends that it's just for my nephew. It'll keep him busy. He's like, no, you're paying me too much for this. You think this is valuable? I'll have 100 times that. He's like, nope. well, I'll just keep it then. And next time we see Quark, he's begging Sisko to do something about the fact that he's supposed to have an exclusive gambling contract on the station. To which Sisko says, "You bribing Cardassians before we arrive does not count an exclusive contract." So I will point out though, there's a really nice little shot here where they go down the elevator to the lower deck of the promenade, and the camera just sort of stays on it and follows it down and then follows them coming out. And I was like, oh, that's a guess. You're proud of this little bit you built of the set, and you're making use of it to make it look like it's completely usable.
And they continue the conversation in the lift, and you can hear them talking.
Yes,
it's nice.
Yeah, it was a nice way of showing off. Again. Yeah, it was nice way of showing off their set and just how intricate they've made it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that kind of thing again, maybe in more dramatic ways when the situation calls for it. But it was nice. It was nice. So yes, we also see that Quark's brother, Rom, decides to jump ship, which actually gave me one of my favorite little funny moments of the episode, because as he's walking over with the guy, Quark's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, he's offered me, a 25% partnership in the Endeavor," and then Rom just says, "Would you like to make an offer, Quark? Maybe top it?" And Quark just laughs and says, "Bid for you, don't make me laugh." And then he laughs maniacally. I don't know, I got a lot of chuckles out of that.
And as he's leaving, he's like, just shouts, he shaves the latinum. I was like, I don't much.
Not much. Yeah. If anything, I would have loved more of a focus on some of the intricate, because it goes so far into just kind of like, oh, this place is successful and it's affecting the luck on the station. It would have been almost more interesting to me if we spent a lot more time with just a back and forth between the two places trying to one up each other. I think that's what I was getting excited about when the premise was starting to kick in, and it kind of never really was that. It just did its own thing.
That kind of is my biggest problem with this episode. It's not that it's fluff, because it's mostly enjoyable enough fluff, and I'm okay with a fluff episode every so often. It's that it never really commits to like the best bits. It keeps having ideas, flirts with them, and then it does something else, or it not even that it does something else, it just doesn't like really go fully down it. Even the device, like, we get no answer about it. By the end, it's just, well, just shut them all off, and nothing happens with them. Like, there's nothing to it, and it's a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a lot of some of the recent TNG episodes where there's a lot of cool little ideas in here, but it doesn't necessarily explore any of them in a way that is completely satisfying. I don't think it hurts it as much as some of those recent TNG episodes, though, just because it never feels like it's an important episode anyway, so it's like, it's just kind of having a bit of fun, so it doesn't hurt as much. But I do feel like they could have explored some of it. Like this idea that people are getting lucky for a while and other people are getting unlucky for a while, but then it can swing just like that at random. There's stuff you could do with that.
I think that's the problem. There's so many threads here that it like plays with, but it doesn't do enough with any of them to feel really satisfying. Like, I don't think the rivalry between Quark and Mars is like, I don't think it goes far enough with the back and forth with them.
Well, I don't think it
goes far enough with the look.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Quark and Martis like rivalry is that the episode actually starts as if Odo's going to be his main like rival, his antagonist. Like that's what the opening kind of communicated to me. And then it shifts gears to Quark after some setup of him finding this device. I almost think that you could have, admittedly, you're taking out the luck thing at this point, but see if you just removed the device, removed the fact that he has to be a con man first and try to con this old lady out of her fortune, just start him as he opens up shop across the hall and just do the rivalry. Like, have them try to one-up each other. I don't know if you need all the fluff before it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes it a little bit, not worse, but less effective.
Yeah. And alternatively, with the luck stuff, if that's where you're going to focus on, I do think the racquetball game is a fun device for that, mainly because the characters are fun, interacting with each other. But it did, the one piece of the storytelling that I thought was very effective is that when they have their big game later in the episode, and this is the thing that Quark's roped them into, saying, hey, half the proceeds are going to go to this orphan charity down on Bajor, for the children, you have to play. Like,
it's like you've already got to do it because the monks have already donated. They've already been promised, so we have to do this.
They need blankets for winter.
Drug Bashir.
He tries to. As the monks gave me this magic juice for you, and then Bashir. Quark never occurs to him that Bashir can just test it because he's in the lab. He can just take a sample and see what's in it. Turns out there's some anesthetic in it. I think he said.
Basically it's anesthetic. He's like, I'll be drugged up. I will barely be able to stand, let alone win.
Yeah, but once they actually play, right, and they're all watching it in the bar, they've got a video feed of the room. Like, immediately O'Brien starts doing well and Bashir starts like really struggling. And at first you're thinking, oh, is he throwing the game like maybe he's considered Quark's offer? But then his racket breaks and you're like, oh no, this is just a string of luck happening where all of a sudden Bashir's the unlucky one and O'Brien's the lucky one. And O'Brien like turns off the cameras and starts testing it by just like, okay, you throw the ball against the wall, just a simple back and forth, and somehow it still comes back to O'Brien, despite the fact that Bashir just tossed it straight. And then O'Brien starts like hitting it around the room where it's ricocheting all over the walls and still just ends up in his hand at the end. And he's like, whoa. I do think that having the racquetball like series of games to establish who was good, who was bad, does neatly sort of, it's a convincing way for them to sort of like discover, okay, something's afoot here. This isn't just luck. There's something going on.
I think it's objectively the strongest part of the episode in terms of not necessarily the most enjoyable. Like, don't get me wrong, it is enjoyable, but like I think it's the strongest in the sense that it's very clearly defined. It pushes it exactly as far as it should. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go overboard, but it runs that plot to the point of its natural conclusion. Whereas like all the other plots we're talking about, like there are things you want more out of them, whereas this one actually does the entire thing that it's supposed to do. Yeah.
It's kind of used as a mechanical device for the rest of the story, but it's the one that's actually, like you say, sees it through to the end. It's almost a bit weird though that it deflates the tension between them before this one, because when they go into this match, O'Brien's not really angry anymore because they've kind of just like, okay, we're doing this because he's roped us into it, but it's not because we're actually, like high tensions anymore. It would have almost been more interesting if they were at high tension, if O'Brien was really passionate and thinking, okay, I'm going to prove I can hold my own. And then they start playing and he realizes, wait, I can't enjoy this. Something's not right. Like, I know I'm not winning legit.
The way to do it is have O'Brien still being like really into it, but Bashir's like, no, I'm not playing this anymore. I'm not doing, him put a firm stop to it. And then Quark dragging them both into it. And O'Brien, instead of reluctantly going along with it, is like, yes, now's my chance. I like really go into it. But yeah, I say just both of them are just like, well, yeah, I guess for the orphans.
For the orphans.
Yeah.
Because
these definitely real orphans.
Because it's almost like Bashir could do badly for a couple of hits and be like, wait, why am I doing so bad? And then get into it and get mad that he's doing so badly and then wonder why it's not working. And then you could sort of have the story in their sort of match be, oh, when is O'Brien going to kind of admit and realize something's not right? Because he knows, even if he somehow is eking out a win, he shouldn't be winning like this much. This is domination. So what's going on here? So. Yeah,
there are things you could do to improve it. I think that would, but I think that's the problem with this episode, isn't it? Is that it's mostly fine. There's just little tweaks to actually improve it quite significantly.
Yeah, because there's little things just to show the luck swinging back and forth, like Kira tripping and hurting herself, or Dax is like, oh, the computer just gave me this thing we've been looking for from the Cardassians for like since we got here. But then later on, it just disappears.
It takes it away,
yeah. So there's just little things like that we cut to, and it always feels just a little bit like, okay, it's relevant to what's going on, because it's the whole luck thing. But I don't think the epidemic of luck is not working correctly on the station ever feels like it's that big of a deal. Like, I get, obviously, they have to fix it, but it doesn't feel that dramatic when they sort of just like trace it to the source and go, oh, it's this game thing that this guy's got in here.
Just turn it off.
Yeah, we'll shoot it and destroy them all.
Yeah, well, it's essentially just turn it off.
Yeah, well, because there's no off switch, you see, so they have to do it this way. Because apparently the logic is is that this small thing had this aura around it and could do this, but it was pretty limited to just whoever was there next to it. But because he replicated it into bigger ones and made multiple of them for his little casino going on, that's why it was affecting the whole station. Is it amplified it considerably, which is fine, I guess. I almost, it would have been interesting if it was just the little one that was doing it, and you didn't add this whole thing where making it bigger is what was like. Because I almost like the idea it's not the big ones he replicated, because they're replicated. Those aren't having an effect. It's only the original that's causing this. And I think I would have liked that a little bit more, because it would have left a little bit of ambiguity to, oh, that first time the two of them played racquetball, is O'Brien really that much worse, or was he on like had it already kicked in?
A little bit unlucky.
Yeah. It would have left it open where maybe you could have almost done the fun ending where they kind of realize that and go, hey, we should have one game now that this is dealt with, just to see how we actually are together, and then just cut to credits when they go to hit the first ball, and just leave it to our imagination. Do your fun little thing. I agree.
I would have liked that. I would have liked more investigation into the devices. There's no, what is it? What does it do? How does it work? Where's it from? And it's just oh, that's causing it. Just shoot it. Problem solved.
Yeah, that's it. It's just gone. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a frustrating one, but it's kind of a light enough fun episode that it doesn't upset me that much. It's
pretty harmless. So, like I say, I'm not annoyed. I'm just like, there's a version of this episode that I think is legitimately great, whereas this one, it's fine.
Yeah. Also, there's that little extra wrinkle added in later on where the lady that he was trying to con early comes in and says, oh, she's almost got her thing set up, but she needs like 10 grand just to like deal with this one thing. And I'm like, oh, she's conning him. Like, I immediately just clocked it. And then of course she ends up also being a con woman. She was conning the con artist. And that's it. Quark pays for him to leave the station. That's what we actually end the episode on, is Quark is bailing him out and is going to pay him to leave. And then negotiate a little bit. But honestly, the negotiation is not that interesting.
It's really not, no.
Shout out to a little moment where Rom is trying to tell what's his name, Mars, where he's trying to tell him, oh, my brother Quark one, I don't think he said Christmas, whatever their equivalent of Christmas is. He's like, yeah, one Christmas he swapped out all the presents my parents got me and sold them for more than what my father had paid for them, and that's when he gets cut off. But I was just loving this little story of Quark being like such a sleazy little entrepreneur to make money. And then Martis like snaps because he doesn't want to hear it. But
we got some new rules of acquisition in this episode.
That's right. Oh, you know what? I'm sure there's a wiki of everyone he's ever said in the show.
100% there is.
But I don't want to look it up yet because we're in season 2.
You want to discover them organically.
Yeah. Yes, but I almost wish that if someone had told me in advance he's going to keep giving rules of acquisition, I would have started writing them down at the start of this. I would have been keeping track.
Yeah, so you could refer to them, pull them out every so often.
Yeah. Have a big list. It's like, okay, we now know 27 of the 140 rules of acquisition and counting.
Wonder how many we learn by the end.
I don't know. The rule of this episode, for anyone who didn't catch it, was never trust a man who's wearing a nicer suit than you are. So
yes,
yeah, good.
Either broke or a con man, or both.
Yeah, good advice, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, it was nice actually seeing Keiko and O'Brien being like loving this episode, because I mean, the first scene where he comes in and he's mad, she just kind of like smirks at his like temper because he's just being a little spoiled brat about losing. But later on, when she sort of try to like build him up for the big match at the end, she kisses him, says they're going to celebrate tonight, and makes him like a headband that she's coated in her perfume. And I don't know. I actually felt like they were being a loving couple. I feel like as much as they're husband and wife, I like there's very few times I can think of where they've even like held each other's hands. Never mind, shared a kiss.
It's because she's not in that many episodes, really, all things considered.
I mean, that is true. Yes, she's not been in many episodes. She pops in here or there for when
every
it's
so
relevant.
often I forget that she exists because she goes so long without seeing her. And then I'm like, oh yes, they're married.
Yeah. They have a kid too. Where was the kid?
Yeah, they do.
I guess all these scenes took place when the kid was at school, even though Keiko's the teacher of the school. But let's not think about
that. Yeah, don't worry about
it. Play dates.
Out playing, yeah.
Yeah, play dates with some other kids.
Causing trouble on the promenade.
Yes, yes, yes. They're probably too young to be staring at girls or boys, but and I said that because I do not remember which gender their child is, so I just said both. Not that it would matter. It could be either anyway, obviously, but I mean, just going with the classic. Anywho, that's this episode of Deep Space Nine. It was fine. It was
fine. It was fine fluff.
It was fine fluff. There you go. That's the full review. So yeah, we're actually doing Deep Space Nine again next time because they aired 2 in a row back in the day before we go back to next gen. So let's have a look and see what the next episode is. It's called The Alternate, and here's the description on IMDb. Odo and his mentor, Dr. Mora Paul, discover a life form similar to Odo on a Gamma Quadrant planet. Oh.
Okay.
Could be important. This could be like a step forward for Odo's mythology and all that. So could be good.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. But yeah, that'll be next time, and that will be next. 2 Deep Space Nines in a row. Then I think we've got 2 TNGs in a row, and then it's back to just alternating between them until the seasons are up. But we're following the air dates to the T.
Yeah, we will follow this exactly no matter what, unless you forget.
No. I check every episode. I check what's coming up. Yes. Don't worry. But that is the show, everyone. You can support all the content over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. And you can get some bonus stuff. Check out MailFuzz Movies on YouTube for all the movie podcasts, which are also available via podcast, feed directories and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that stuff if you want them there. But check out them on MailFuzz Movies to see what ones are available and which ones you're interested in. The sci-fi movie podcast might be the most relevant to you, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, since you're listening to 2 idiots talk about Star Trek. But go have a look and see if you like it. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you very much for joining. We do appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek, and somewhere out there, Odo is always lucky because puddles are lucky. I don't know.